The music played softly in the background, strings blending with laughter and the clinking of champagne glasses. The late afternoon sun spilled golden light across the white tents, catching on the edges of crystal vases filled with roses. Everyone looked beautiful, glowing, happy. Everyone except him. Liam Hart stood near the back, half hidden by the shade of a tree, his tie slightly loose, his hands deep in his pockets. He wasn't supposed to feel out of place, not really. After all, he had been invited, technically. But watching the bride and groom share their first dance, their smiles radiant, their fingers intertwined, something inside him ached in ways he hadn't felt in years. He wasn't just watching a wedding, he was watching the life he once thought he'd have, and lost. 3 years ago, his world had shattered in a hospital room. His wife, Mara, had smiled weakly through pale lips and whispered, "Promise me you'll dance again, Liam. Promise me you'll live." He had nodded, tears blurring her face, not realizing then that those would be her last words. Since that day, Liam hadn't danced, hadn't laughed freely, hadn't believed that joy was something meant for him. Now, standing among strangers and fleeting laughter, he felt like an outsider looking in on a world he no longer belonged to. He was here only because his college friend Ethan had insisted he come. "Just for a day, man. You need it." So he came. As a guest, nothing more. But life has a strange way of surprising you when your heart least expects it. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet ways broken hearts begin to heal, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us bring more stories of hope to light. The laughter around him grew louder as couples joined the dance floor. The bride's veil fluttered as she twirled, the groom beaming as if he had caught all the light in the world. Liam smiled faintly, proud of his old friend, but his chest felt heavy. He turned away, his eyes searching the crowd for his 8-year-old daughter, Grace. She was sitting near the dessert table, swinging her legs and happily devouring a piece of cake that looked bigger than her face. Her joy, her innocence. It was the only reason he was still standing. Grace caught his gaze and waved, her chocolate-covered smile melting his heart. "You should dance, Daddy," she mouthed, motioning to the dance floor. He shook his head with a small laugh. "Not today, sweetheart," he whispered to himself. Not ever, he wanted to say. He was about to walk over to her when he heard a voice. Soft, warm, and filled with something he couldn't quite name. "You look like a man avoiding the music." He turned, startled, and saw her. A woman in a pale blue dress stood a few feet away, her brown hair loosely curled, her eyes alive with quiet mischief. She was holding a glass of sparkling water and smiling as though she could see right through his carefully built walls. "I'm not avoiding it," he replied, though even he didn't believe it. "Just not much of a dancer." "Neither am I," she said lightly, stepping closer. "But I've learned it's less about the steps and more about what, or who, you're dancing for." Her words landed deeper than she could have known. Liam managed a polite smile and nodded toward the crowd. "You should join them. It's your moment, not mine." "I'm not really here for the dancing," she said softly. "I'm here for my sister." He blinked. "The bride," she nodded, eyes glimmering. "I'm Tessa." Tessa. The name fit her, gentle, steady, carrying something bright beneath its simplicity. They talked a little after that, about weddings, about Grace, about how love never really leaves, it just changes form. There was something calming about her presence, something that didn't demand or pry. Hours passed, and the golden light turned into the warm hues of dusk. Grace fell asleep on a chair, her tiny head resting on a napkin-covered table. The guests started to loosen up, ties came off, shoes were abandoned, and the music shifted from romantic to joyful. Tessa found herself near Liam again, standing under a string of lights that flickered like stars. She studied his face quietly. The quiet sorrow that hadn't quite left his eyes, the way he always looked at his daughter first before doing anything else. And then she did something he never expected. She stepped forward, extended her hand, and said with a soft smile, "Dance with me before you notice what you're saying no to." Liam froze. Her words echoed in his head, pulling at something deep and long forgotten. For a second, he almost laughed, almost refused like he always did. But then Grace stirred in her chair and murmured, "Dance." Daddy, half asleep, half dreaming. And that was enough. He took Tessa's hand. It was warm, real, alive. The music slowed, a soft, timeless tune filling the air as the world seemed to blur around them. Liam hadn't danced in 3 years, yet his body remembered the motion, gentle and hesitant at first, then slowly finding its rhythm. Tessa guided him with quiet confidence, her eyes never leaving his. "You're doing fine," she whispered. He smiled, a real smile this time. "It feels strange." "Because it matters," she replied. They danced beneath the fading light, surrounded by laughter and music. But it felt like they were the only two people in the world. For the first time since Mara's passing, Liam felt the weight on his chest begin to lift. He didn't feel guilt for smiling. He didn't feel wrong for living. He just felt human again. Later that night, when the party quieted and guests began leaving, Liam and Tessa sat by the garden fountain. Fireflies glowed faintly over the water. Grace slept peacefully in his arms, her small fingers curled around his shirt. Tessa spoke first. "She's beautiful. She looks just like her mother, doesn't she?" Liam nodded, emotion thick in his throat. "Every day. Sometimes it hurts to see her smile, because it reminds me of what I lost. But other times it saves me." Tessa watched him for a long moment before saying softly, "Maybe that's what love does. It hurts you until it heals you." He looked at her then, really looked. There was no pity in her eyes, no attempt to fix him. Just understanding, just quiet presence. He told her about Mara, about the promise he never thought he could keep. Tessa listened, her hand gently resting over his. When he finished, she said, "Maybe keeping your promise doesn't mean forgetting her. Maybe it means choosing to dance again, even when your heart trembles." Liam's chest tightened, tears burning behind his eyes. He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. The next morning, as sunlight poured over the hills, the wedding tents were being taken down. Grace ran through the dewy grass with a flower crown on her head, laughing as Tessa chased her playfully. Watching them, Liam felt something shift inside him. A quiet peace, a small beginning. Before leaving, Tessa handed him a folded napkin with something written in careful handwriting. "If you ever want to dance again," it said, "you know where to find me." Beneath it was a small cafe name and an address. He laughed softly, shaking his head. "You don't give up easily, do you?" She smiled. "Neither does life." Weeks passed. Liam went back to his routines, school runs, packed lunches, bedtime stories. But something was different. Grace talked often about Miss Tessa from the wedding, and each time Liam found himself smiling more easily. The loneliness that used to feel like a permanent shadow had softened. One sunny afternoon, as Grace tugged his sleeve and said, "Let's get ice cream near the park." "Daddy," he agreed without thinking. As they walked, he saw it. The same cafe from the napkin. The door was open, laughter spilling out, and through the glass, he saw her. Tessa. She was behind the counter, her hair tied back, a smudge of flour on her cheek, smiling at an elderly customer like sunshine in motion. And just like that, without hesitation, Liam walked in. "Hey," she said, surprised but happy. "You found me?" He nodded. "Took me a while to notice." They laughed quietly. He told her how Grace had started taking dance lessons, how he'd even joined one parent-child class just for fun. "Turns out," he said, smiling, "you were right. It's not about the steps. It's about who you dance for," she finished, her eyes glimmering. That day didn't end with a grand confession or dramatic moment. It ended with two people sharing coffee and laughter while a little girl giggled in the corner. But it was enough. Because sometimes healing doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with a hand reaching out and a quiet invitation to dance before you notice what you're missing. Months later, at another wedding, this time Tessa's friends, Liam stood again beneath the lights, holding Tessa's hand. Grace twirled around them, her laughter pure and bright. As the music began, Tessa looked up at him with a soft smile and whispered, "Ready?" He nodded, smiling back. "I've been ready for a while." And when they danced, it wasn't about loss or memory anymore. It was about life, fragile, beautiful, and worth holding on to. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal for more stories that remind us love can begin again, even in the quietest places. Special request: comment below. I believe in second chances. If you think everyone deserves to dance again, no matter how broken their past once was,